Coming up in today's video, we're going to be talking about some of the biggest stories across WWE and AEW. And yes, of course, I'm going to give you guys my personal opinion on all of these stories. If you guys want more videos like this, go ahead and click that subscribe button. And as always, I'm going to put the timestamps in the description down below. I want to talk about Matt Riddle because this is a very interesting story that's floating around the internet. And quite honestly, I don't know what to make of it. Now, obviously, it didn't help that Meltzer added a ton to this. So for those who don't know, Matt Riddle has actually reportedly been out of rehab for a long time now. It's been said that his suspension with WWE has been over for almost a month. And then on top of that, obviously we haven't seen Matt Riddle return to TV. So there is this speculation going on that either WWE has zero plans to actually invest in Matt Riddle, or WWE does not want to use Matt Riddle until after WrestleMania. Now, Meltzer does say that he does assume, right, that Matt Riddle will be back. But when he left, they made a point of saying he was going to be gone for 6 weeks, and we're at about 11 or 12, which I do think is a fair assessment, right? If the report and the idea, the suspension, all of these different things that have been talked about, if it was supposed to be for X amount of time, and then the reality sets in and it's been far much more longer than that, obviously that does somewhat become a concern. Now, here's the thing. With Matt Riddle, I don't know what to expect here. And it's a tricky situation for WWE because we saw recent photos of Randy Orton looking great. He looks jacked. He looks healthy. Is Randy Orton coming back? Is WWE done with the idea of doing rated RK Bro? You know what I mean? I think that's something that definitely needs to be talked about here. And another thing, too, that I think is actually really, really important that we need to discuss is Matt Riddle and his whole situation with WWE. You know, despite the fact that he's been given the reins to have a big push, and obviously there were big plans for Matt Riddle, and they utilized Matt Riddle, but then it seems like the noise outside of the wrestling ring seems to be the thing that gets Matt Riddle in trouble. The stuff that people are talking about on social media, the things that are happening. Obviously, Triple H and WWE have a very difficult situation to navigate through because, yes, he went to rehab, and that's great. Obviously, health comes first. Before we could talk about wrestling, I have to acknowledge this more than ever because it's a common trend in my videos. Yes, personal health comes first before wrestling. Okay? But once that part is taken care of, there does become this analytical side of wrestling that I have to mention. And I think at some point you have to decide as a company, because it is an investment, it costs money to produce this show. Do you continue investing in somebody who is a little bit more on the side of drama and controversy? And I think if you're the WWE, that's a very big question to ask yourself. And, you know, hopefully everything with Riddle is much more improved. Hopefully he's healthy. Hopefully everything is working out in his favor. But also at the same time, too, you got to look at WWE and wonder, you have something there. You could push that person if you want to, but is it worth the money? Guys, I want to talk to you about Ezekiel Jackson. I know this sounds a little bit crazy, but WWE has decided to go and trademark Zack Ryder and Ezekiel Jackson. Now, it's not uncommon for WWE to trademark previous wrestlers' names. However, there are a lot of trademarks that haven't been picked up either. So, for example, Impact Wrestling picked up the trademark for Santino Marella, which we know he's actually back. He's in Impact working as the director of Authority, right? So I look at WWE locking down Ezekiel Jackson. I see them locking down Zack Ryder. Also to mention, they locked down Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler. WWE is making the conscious decision right now to trademark a few names of previously employed talent, which is why it's interesting, because if WWE is going to have talent on their TV show, they want the trademark. It makes sense for WWE. It's their job, obviously, owning intellectual property, owning trademarks, doing all of these different things. That's exactly what WWE is looking to do. So, of course, a lot of people are actually starting to wonder, is Ezekiel Jackson and obviously Matt Cardona, Zack Ryder, are they coming back to the company? Now, listen, I'm not saying it's not going to happen because you never know with the WWE. However, out of all of the list of free agents that exists out there, I'm not sure why WWE would want to bring back Ezekiel Jackson. And I'm not sure why Ezekiel Jackson would want to come back to WWE, to be honest. It's a strange situation, but I think it's interesting because of the fact that WWE locking down these trademarks tells you one of two things. Either WWE is literally holding on to trademarks, which, by the way, what type of value is there in the Ezekiel Jackson trademark? I mean, that's the first question, right? But number two, what would WWE's plan be with Ezekiel Jackson if he were to return to the company? So again, I see why people think a return could be happening, and I understand the big question mark there, but I just don't think it's likely that this would happen. But you never know, because we know that Matt Cardona is expected to go back to WWE at any point, and that hasn't happened yet. So the whole trademark thing could be for a variety of reasons. I don't want people to read too much into it, but of course, it's WWE. You never know at this point. I think it would be kind of odd, but it is what it is. And guys, for our final story of the day, we're going to talk about Chris Jericho. Yes, the AEW top star. I have nothing bad to say about Chris Jericho. I might not like the gimmick, I might not like the booking, but I like Chris Jericho. I think he's done a really good job in AEW, leading the show, taking the lead. When this company lacks direction, Chris Jericho is there to help the company out. In fact, I said this during the time of All Out. I said Chris Jericho, Jon Moxley, Bryan Danielson, if you are going to have talent involved as executive vice presidents, those were the three I genuinely think could be great at that role. I would love to see these guys have a back office role. Here's why. Chris Jericho was doing an interview with the Daily Star, and Chris Jericho was asked about a potential return to WWE one day, and he says, I don't see why it wouldn't be. I don't hold the torch for WWE. To me, that's not the place to be. AEW is the place to be. It really is. I've been in WWE. I know how it works, the way they work. I don't care if Vince is there, Hunter is there, or whoever is there. They have a way of doing things, and I was there for 20 years and was pretty good at it. I like the way we do things at AEW better, so I don't know why I wouldn't want to finish my career in AEW. Chris Jericho is pleading his loyalty to AEW, and there's literally nothing wrong with that. I think it's very similar to what John Cena has done with WWE. Now, I don't care how Chris Jericho is booked at the moment. I'm not a big fan of Jericho Appreciation Society. I think it's run its course. I don't hate it. I don't love it. I'm just not thrilled with it, right? But I'm not going to sit here and downplay the impact that Chris Jericho has had for AEW. Because when you look at the founding fathers of AEW and you look at the EVPs and Tony Khan, who started this company, they did a great job of getting off the ground, but I don't think you can credit them entirely. Jon Moxley and Chris Jericho were there, and they helped them in a massive way. And I think Chris Jericho showing his loyalty to Tony Khan through thick and thin, good or bad, I think that's exactly what AEW needs. So look, Chris Jericho turning down a potential return to WWE in the future, not necessarily shocking, but I hope he is extremely valued long-term in this company by AEW, because the last thing you want to do as a company is piss off somebody who genuinely wants to be there. Think about that from the real-world example of working in a corporate job. Just think about that. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section down below. I appreciate you all watching, and I'll see you next time.